The Cowboys are finished with minicamp, and the next time we'll see this team together is in Oxnard, California. So until that gets here, let's take a look at some notes from the Cowboys' last practice at the Star. Let's start our notes in the trenches with the first team offensive line, which was Chuma Edoga at left tackle, Tyler Smith at left guard, Brock Hoffman at center, TJ Bass at right guard, and Terrence Steele at right tackle. We're not going to really talk about TJ Bass at right guard. That's just because Zach Martin wasn't practicing during minicamp, which doesn't really matter because the dude's going to be a Hall of Famer. He doesn't really need to be working out at this time of the year. He'll be ready for training camp, and that's all that matters. On the other hand, you have Chuma Edoga at left tackle and Brock Hoffman at center. Those matter a little bit more. And it's been this way the entirety of the Cowboys OTAs and minicamp. I know that Brian Broaddus has said it a couple times, but the Cowboys have been putting Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton with the second and third teams in order for those guys to get more reps. So instead of putting them in there with the first team and rotating in and out, they're not getting 15 to 20 snaps, they're getting 35 to 40, whatever the numbers are. I don't know, I've never been to a Cowboys practice. But by doing that, their first round pick and another top 75 pick haven't been getting first team reps. Me personally, I'm a quality over quantity type person, especially when it comes to these situations. Your first round pick and potentially starting center would benefit greatly from having first team reps. I know it's not as competitive. I know that these offensive and defensive line battles are not all that much, but it would still be nice to work those guys in. More so for a guy like Tyler Guyton. I get it if you want to get Cooper Beebe as many snaps as humanly possible at center. He hasn't snapped in such a long time, it would make sense to get him as many reps. But for Tyler Guyton, you're hoping that he can beat out Chuma Edoga in training camp. So for the Cowboys to start their off-season work, not having those guys in there is certainly interesting, and I do expect that to change when we get to training camp. But until then, it's Chuma Edoga and Brock Hoffman. Our second note is Trey Lance was working with the second team. While the second team offense was getting reps, Lance and Rush were rotating in every few plays with that second team. As reported by The Athletic later in the day, the first team offense was on the far half of the field, while the second team offense operated on the near side. Prescott and Rush were splitting first team reps, while Lance handled all of the work for the second team unit, which is perfectly fine and kind of as expected. I like that Lance is getting as many opportunities as he possibly can with the second team because that's who he's going to be playing with in the preseason. Those receivers, that offensive line, that center, which included Cooper Beebe, who is getting reps at both right guard and center with the second team. It makes sense that you want Lance to be playing and practicing with guys that he's going to be playing with in the preseason. It's going to give him the best opportunity to succeed when it does get here. Now, as far as training camp goes, I want to be watching that split a little more closely. Is it Cooper Rush getting a lot of work with the second team, or is it Trey Lance? I think that's going to give us a good idea of what the Cowboys think Lance is capable of, which guy is potentially winning that quarterback 2 battle. But for this particular practice, the Cowboys had Lance and Rush rotating in with the second team, and then Lance getting pretty much all of the reps with the second team later on in practice. The Cowboys had both 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s during yesterday's practice, and apparently things got competitive. The defense was making it hard on Dak to complete some passes. Dak was getting his as well, finding Jake Ferguson from the 2-yard line, and Jalen Tolbert getting in there and mixing it up in the receiving game. Obviously, it changes a little bit of things with CeeDee Lamb not being there, but I like that Dak is getting to work with all of these receivers, guys that wouldn't be getting work because CeeDee would be out there with the first team. Apparently, things got super competitive. The defense and offense were going at it, and I believe it started with a Trey Lance interception where Eric Scott was defending on the play. He made a play on the ball, tipped it up, and it was picked off. The offense and defense were jawing at each other, and obviously it can't be too competitive because Mike McCarthy doesn't want to get fined once again like he has been the past couple of years, but it's good good to see the competitive spirit coming out. Young guys like Eric Scott Jr. getting in there, mixing it up, and making a play. I just wish we had video from this because I love when stuff comes out from training camp and they're 11-on-11 and 7-on-7s. You can get a good idea of who's winning, who's losing on the offense and defensive side of the ball. But I'm glad they did have some competitive moments in minicamp. Now for the Cowboys, there are no more practices. They were supposed to practice on Thursday, but they're doing some team bonding, some team meeting stuff. So no more practice. This is it. Minicamp is officially over. And I'm sure CeeDee Lamb is super excited because he was going to get fined, I believe, $50,000 for missing practice today. But for that, we are just weeks away from this team meeting in Oxnard, California, where a lot of our questions are going to be answered. Who's this team's wide receiver 3? Are Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe going to get snaps with the first team offense? How does Trey Lance look? All of those questions are hopefully gonna have answers very, very soon. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.